Hello, my name is Steve Duran. Equity Residential and Lexford Properties are proud to present this training video. The purpose of this video is to provide maintenance technicians with the working knowledge to perform the task of Walltex repair and replacement. We'll also learn how to prepare and paint apartment ceilings. Now this may sound boring, but in reality, learning how to perform these tasks well can be very exciting, saving a great deal of time and money. Let's begin our Walltex repair by first identifying typical causes of failure. There are a number of reasons why interior wall coverings may need repair. The most common reason is poor initial installation. This miscut could allow the seam to tear or ravel. Insufficient wall adhesive can cause seams to split open or cause air bubbles to appear. Too much rolling pressure on original insulation will produce similar results. And then, of course, there's the resident who accidentally damages the wall. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. In any event, whether it's preventative in nature or a repair after damage has occurred, having the proper skill and technique can save valuable time and money. Now that we have identified several areas needing repair, let's take a look at the tools we'll be using in the repair process. Smoothing brush, a razor knife or utility knife, vinyl adhesive glue applicator with vinyl-to-vinyl adhesive in it and seam repair adhesive, 6-inch and 12-inch plastic broad knife, sponge and water bucket, scissors, ruler, seam roller, 9-inch roller and a 1/2-inch nap, Bay City roller, just testing you, Walltex adhesive, and an ample supply of wall vinyl. Now that we have all our tools and materials, let's get to work. Our maintenance technician will now inspect this apartment for needed wall repairs. Let's see what he finds. It looks as if he's located several problem areas. A poorly installed seam that can easily become ripped or frayed, a seam that has already split open and subject to tear, air bubbles or air pockets can easily sag or become ripped. Here, he locates a tear in the wall vinyl. He finds both minor wall damage as well as major damage caused by a flyaway door. Well, now that we've assessed the damage, let's observe our technician as he gets to work and repairs the damages. We'll begin with the loose seam. First, what he does is dampen the seam with warm water. By dampening the seam, it makes it more pliable and easier to push back into place. Then he applies seam seal adhesive onto the wall and gently presses the seam flat. It's a good idea to let it stand for 5 minutes or so for the adhesive to thicken. Time flies, or so it seems. Then, smooth lightly with a roller, wipe off the seam lightly with a damp sponge, and dry. As a last resort, if the seam flap just does not want to stay in place easily, we can use a push pin to tack it into place until dry. Now, this would be a good time to pause and practice this type of repair with your facilitator. Now let's talk about bubbles. Not you, bubbles. Bubbles or air pockets behind wall vinyl. These can easily expand to a large area, sag, or get torn. Let's observe as our maintenance technician shows us how to locate a hidden air pocket. By rubbing his hand or a plastic broad knife across the vinyl, you can actually hear a hollow sound, indicating an air pocket. Once located, what we do here is define the perimeter of the airspace. Then we cut a slit through the bubble using a sharp razor knife. If there's a pattern or print, we recommend cutting along the print line to hide the cut. If it's a large delaminated area, we cut it in 2 directions, which allows you to better apply the adhesives. Next, we insert the tip of the glue applicator through the cut and apply adhesive sparingly under the wall vinyl in each direction. Then we press the wall vinyl gently to bond it to the wall. Typically, we use a damp sponge to press the flap down, and always be sure to wipe away any excess glue and dry the area. Drying the area will wipe away the excess adhesive that causes shiny spots to appear. We come across wall vinyl tears such as this area right here. It appears that the wall behind the vinyl is in good condition and only a patch is needed. Let's watch our technician at work. First, we want to inspect the wall behind the vinyl tear. It looks as if the wall is sound. Then cut a patch of vinyl from a spare piece we have in stock. Always cut it larger than the damaged area. If we cannot find spare vinyl, you can cut a piece out from a less objectionable area, such as behind the toilet, closet, or refrigerator, and use it as a patch. When we have found a suitable patch piece, we overlay the damaged section, making sure that it completely covers. Use masking tape to secure the patch piece all around. If you're working Castle Wall MB300, you'll want to be sure that your repair piece is of the same texture, coloring, and gloss as the wall to which you are applying it to. Once secure, take a razor knife at a 90-degree angle and cut through both layers of wall vinyl. If the vinyl has a pattern, or lines, cut along the lines to hide the seam. With less definite patterns, it's good to cut irregular lines. This helps to hide the new seams. This type of repair method can be used to repair both small and large damage areas. Now, we want to remove or peel away both the new patch and the damaged section. This is a good time to inspect the wall for further damage. In this case, no further damage is found. Apply adhesive to the wall or patch and position the repair piece on the wall so that the pattern matches in the hole. Gently press into place using a damp sponge. Once in position, clean the area and dry. After 5 minutes, this is the result. Last repair was completed assuming that the drywall behind the vinyl was not damaged. Now let's mix it up a little bit and assume that the drywall was damaged. This would require an additional repair to the wall prior to the vinyl repair. Now the fun begins. Hey, cut that out. Let's see how we do this. Our technician begins his repair by making 3 cuts approximately 1 to 2 inches away from the dent. Now he's able to assess the damage. If the damage is limited to a minor dent, then a simple application of compound may fill the damaged area. Using a spackling knife larger than the dent, apply a generous amount of spackling compound. Smooth out and let dry. Once dry, a second application may be needed to bring the repaired area flush with the surrounding surface. Allow to dry, and if needed, lightly sand to assure that the repair is flush with the surrounding surface. Remove all dust and proceed with the vinyl repair steps that we just demonstrated. And this is the end result. Let's review and practice these easy steps. If the wall damage is extensive, not that extensive, more like this, then it will become necessary to remove a section of the wallboard surrounding the damage area using the technique that our maintenance technician will demonstrate. Now, for this step, we'll need additional tools such as a drywall saw, fiberglass self-stick tape, wood furring strip, power drill, and a carpenter square. First, outline the damage area with a carpenter square at right angles. Using a wallboard saw, jigsaw, or utility knife, cut away the damaged section. Cut 2 wallboard backer strips from plywood or furring strips to 2 inches longer than the hole. Install the backer strips using a wallboard screw gun and 1 1/4 wallboard screws to secure strips into place at the top and bottom. This provides a secure backing for our new wallboard patch. Cut wallboard square to size and screw it to backer strips. Apply adhesive-backed fiberglass wallboard tape over the seams, lapping both old and new wallboard. Apply a thin coat of spackling to the joints covering the tape. Sand the area and apply additional spackling compound as necessary to achieve a smooth finish. Lightly sand when dry to assure a smooth surface. Once dry, proceed with the vinyl repair as previously demonstrated. Looks good, doesn't it? Before we demonstrate how to install new Walltex in a room or entire unit, let's pause. It stands to reason that if the existing Walltex is so damaged or is so old that it has exhausted its life, then a total replacement is recommended. Kind of like old socks. An efficient, successful total replacement requires good planning, both with preparation as well as tools and materials needed. Let's begin with the unit preparation. Remove crown and baseboard moldings gently and salvage good quality pieces of both blocks and trim for future repair. Be sure to remove all nails from the wall at top and bottom. Remove electrical receptacle and switch plate covers. Remove bifold doors and tracks. Remove closet shelves, and usually we leave the door cleats. If there is a fire extinguisher, remove it also. Remove carpet pad and tack strips, if condition warrants. Remove bathroom hardware, including towel racks, shower rods, and medicine cabinet, and store in linen closet. Observe all electrical safety procedures. Remove range hood by first making certain that the power is off. Remove the anchor screws securing the hood. Remove old Walltex starting at the top and slowly pull downward. Have a utility knife in hand to cut any drywall membrane that may become damaged in the process. This would be a good time to inspect the wall condition for anything from minor repair to total sheet replacement. Our technician has found one such minor repair. This would also be an excellent time to inspect for walls that may be compromised by mold, such as the tiny little bit here on this wall. If you find mold such as what we have here, it should be treated with a disinfectant comprised of 1 cup of bleach to 1 gallon of water. Now let's watch as our technician sprays the wall with our bleach solution in a pump-up sprayer. Affected areas are to be thoroughly washed until the area is clean. Do not rub too hard, as this will damage the wall surface. It is also a good idea to wipe all the walls in one direction with a damp sponge to lay down the hairline fibers that are raised by pulling down the old Walltex. Allow to dry. Once the wall is dry and sound, use Kills over heavy concentration areas to prevent wall stains from bleeding through. In this case, we'll apply it with a roller. Spray may also be used. From the looks of this wall, several sheets of drywall have been compromised and no longer sound. Oh, really? What are the odds? So, this will be a good time to observe the process of removal. Let the attack begin. It's always a good idea to cut along the top and corners with utility knife. Using a drywall saw, cut the board in several areas and begin removing the drywall. Once the drywall is removed, it's time to inspect the studs for integrity. We have spotted several bad studs that will have to be replaced. Here they are now. This damage is caused by water and termites and typically would be repaired by contractors. All studs are to be inspected for structural soundness. Let's demonstrate this repair process by first measuring up the wall to determine how much stud will have to be removed. In this case, 24 inches will take us to good solid wood. Using a square, draw a line on 2 sides. Cut the damaged portion and remove. Remove the old nails and prepare area for the new 2x3 wood stud support called the cripple. Measure and cut a new piece to fit snug into its space. Apply glue to the back side of the new stud and nail into place. Now we want to cut a longer stud, called a sister, and place it alongside the repair. This will support both the old and new stud. Nail all 3 sections together to form a strong repair. Replace the insulation. Now you're ready for wallboard. The wallboard that we are using is a 1/2 inch green board, which works well in damp areas and is fire rated as well. The drywall is secured with a 1 1/4 inch drywall screws driven in at 7 inches on center, followed by tape and bed. Now that we've prepared the unit walls for new Walltex insulation, let's look at an additional area that requires attention. First, if the gaps are a 1/4 inch or less, use a high-quality siliconized paintable caulk to bridge the gap as is shown here. Occasionally, the gap is wider, possibly 3/8 of an inch. In this case, a backer rod, which is a foam rod, and inserted to fill the larger cavity and caulk to seal the gap. If the gaps are greater than 3/8 of an inch, it is recommended that a white, pre-painted urethane crown mold can be used to cover the gap. You should use finish nails to secure into place. Typically, these larger gaps are located on the front wall and the vaulted ceiling wall at the soffit of the kitchen. If you're upgrading your kitchen bookcase to a breakfast bar, you would want to do this prior to the vinyl replacement and ceiling paint. The process is simple. Watch as we demonstrate. First, remove the 2 inside vertical panels. As you do, the shelves will drop out. Unscrew the top and side panel. Then remove the outside panel slowly, as the top will drop down. Remove the inside vertical panel. As you can see, the ceiling is in need of retexture prior to painting. We will get back to this. Let's pause at this point. We're ready to plan for the installation of the wall vinyl. We'll be using what is commonly known as 54-inch rolled goods. The actual measurement can run from 51 1/4 inch to 54 inches. As you can see, the Walltex has a very coarse texture and it is cloth backed for durability. Never store Walltex vertically, as this will damage the factory edge. Store only horizontally. This is vertical, this is horizontal, for you non-math majors. Since our walls are 7 foot 8 inches tall, except for the cathedral ceilings, we will set up a jig, as shown here, on the plywood floor by marking a line 7 foot 8 from the wall. Here is where we will do our cutting. Cathedral ceilings require custom cuts, and typically we cut them 2 to 3 inches longer than actual measurement to allow for trim. Prior to cutting Walltex, we will be applying sizing to the wall. This will make any future removal easier. You can use ordinary Walltex adhesive, in this case a heavy-duty clear, and we apply it with a brush and a 9-inch roller directly to the wall and allow it to dry. Determining where to start is important, as this could mean the difference between a small or large amount of waste. This is an example of a large amount of waste. It is recommended that we start at the outside corner at the window and work our way into the room on both sides. Let's watch as our maintenance technician demonstrates this for us. He's using a plumb line with a weight on it. In this case, he's using a chalk box. Most chalk boxes have ample weight to accomplish this, or you can use a string and tie your sister to the one end.
I believe the word is scissor.
Oh, right. That is scissor. Measure out from the corner, ideally at the top, the width of the wall vinyl less 1 inch of lap wrapped around the corner and mark. Tack your plumb line to that mark. When it is perfectly still, hold it tightly at the base. And if you have chalk on your lines, give it a snap. If you don't have a chalk line, draw a pencil line along the edge of the string and use a straight edge to mark your line. The important thing is to have a vertical starting line, so your Walltex will be straight from start to finish. On cathedral ceilings, measure the distance from ceiling to floor in several places around the room to determine the maximum height. Now, we are ready to cut the Walltex. What we recommend here is cut 1 or 2 strips in advance. Plain or random match looks better if the strips are reversed. It's always good to alternate top and bottom of successive strips, as shown here. Failure to reverse the strips may cause shading and become very obvious. Remember that wet Walltex does have a tendency to shrink a little. Therefore, you never want to stretch or pull the vinyl. Allow simply to lay flat. Since we're going to use unpasted Walltex, we're going to roll Walltex adhesive directly to the wall with a brush for the corners and a 9-inch roller for the large areas. Now watch as our technician shows us how he does this. Since we've already sized our walls, we're ready to begin applying a generous amount of clear Walltex adhesive directly to our wall. Avoid dry spots by rolling evenly and generously. Do not apply adhesive to more than 1 sheet at any one time to avoid dehydration. Line the first sheet up to the right side of your plumb line and around the corner. Overlap the Walltex at the ceiling and at the floor. Use a plastic straight edge to press the Walltex to the wall. Check often to make sure your sheet has not shifted. If it has, pull away and reattach. Use a smoothing brush to the sheet, starting at the top, and work from the center out toward the edges to move air pockets out. Apply adhesive for the next sheet, and apply the second sheet in the opposite direction, overlapping the first 2 inches or less of the first sheet. Once the second sheet is adhered to the wall and air pocket free, you will want to trim the top and bottom using a 12-inch to 20-inch broad knife as a trimming tool and a sharp razor knife. Using the broad knife as a trimming tool, cut down the center of the double lap seam. Make sure that you cut all the way through both sheets, but not so deep that you cut through the drywall membrane. Remove the cut strips top and bottom. Using a plastic smoother, firmly press both sheets down. They should butt perfectly. Finish off with a roller to hide the seam. Once you become skilled, you might even attempt a freehand cut, as shown here. Clean off any excess adhesive with damp sponge and clean water. For the bedrooms, it is recommended to apply vinyl to the front wall, first lapping 1 inch around each corner and then proceed up each side. Then complete the back wall using the offcuts on the closet header and over the window. After you have hung 2 strips, inspect for problems in color and shading, pattern matches, or other defects. Other points you want to be aware of are cut material in consecutive bolt sequence, starting with the highest numbered bolt to the lowest numbered bolt, as marked in the carton. Be sure to use cut strips in exact order as they are cut from the roll. And don't forget, reverse every other panel on solid colors and non-matching textures. Edges should be overlapped and double cut. Fill in over doors and windows as you come to them with surplus panels cut in consecutive order. As a safety note, you'll be cutting around receptacles and switches. It's recommended that the power be turned off during the trim process. To complete this project, we'll demonstrate how to caulk along the perimeter of the ceiling to prevent peeling or curling. Notice how our technician makes sure that the wall is clean by wiping the surface. Always make sure that it is clean and dry. Then he applies a thin bead of siliconized latex paintable caulk directly onto the space between the wall and the ceiling. Then after wetting his finger, he gently smooths the caulk into a cove shape. Remember, you do not want to press too hard or apply too much caulk. If the proper amount is used, very little will come off on your finger. Let's pause and review this section of the complete unit Walltex installation, and then we'll demonstrate how to... Most often, a total unit renovation would include painting the ceilings, or there may be a periodical interim painting of the popcorn textured ceilings. Our training will continue with detailed specifications for painting textured ceilings, as well as small ceiling texture repairs. But first, let's take a look at our ceiling. Better yet, your ceiling. Remember that bookcase that we removed? Well, removal exposed a section of the ceiling with damaged popcorn. We'll want to retexture this small area. To repair this, we are going to use dry popcorn mix. In this case, you will want to mix it with white ceiling paint and apply with a texture roller. A can of popcorn spray texture mix may also be used. This can be purchased at a paint store or building supply. Since the texturing is messy, it's a good idea to protect any moldings, walls, cabinet counters, or floors with protective covering. Now that we've done that, let's texture. Oh yeah, old water stains can also pose a problem. If not properly sealed, it can bleed through. To prevent that from happening, apply a thin coat of Kills to seal the stain. The objective is to cover and not to apply more than what is needed. Before we actually start painting, let's look at our wood moldings. Mask all crown moldings and all ceiling fixtures with a 1.5-inch masking tape. Cover all counters, vanities, hot water heaters, cabinets, and doors, and of course, if the carpet's not to be replaced, always apply a drop cloth. It's always best to start by painting in the trim. To do this, use a 4.5-inch nap roller. We're using a specified ICI speedwall paint. Make sure that the roller is always wet with paint to avoid dry spots. Paint and roll only in one direction. Do not back roll because this will have a tendency to remove paint, popcorn texture, and create shadows. Use a brush in tight areas. Once a unit is completely trimmed out, it's a simple matter of completing the painting using a 9-inch roller with a 1/2 to 3/4 inch nap. Again, keep the roller wet, rolling only in one direction. When paint is set, repaint in the opposite direction. Once the paint is set, remove all the masking tape and clean up any splatters with a wet cloth. Wipe any excess wet paint off of trims with a damp rag. Never dry wipe or sweep the splatters, as this would only smear. Typically, our paint coverage is studio, 1.5 gallon, 1 bedroom with galley kitchen, 3 gallon, a 1 bedroom with laundry, 3 gallon, and a 2 bedroom with 1 bath, 5 gallons. Now, should you run into a situation where the ceiling is seriously damaged, as in the case of water damage, I urge you to call your district manager for instruction before proceeding with any repair. Put the ball in his court and move on to your next project. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.